Hi, I'm Philip again. The Everyday Expat say boo. Welcome. Allow me to help you on your way to the unimagined adventures that await the beginning of your expat life in the Philippines. I want to talk to you today about the young man still living inside of you who longs to breathe. I wonder if you've ever looked in the mirror and thought about how that young man you once were might feel about the older man you've become. Where did that young man go? The one who dreamed, the one who took chances, the one who imagined living an adventurous life beyond the pale of a 40-hour work week? Perhaps he isn't gone. Perhaps you've simply stopped listening to him. I believe that in most men there still beats the heart of a young man whose voice cries out to be alive, to risk, to discover, to accomplish, to love, and to fight the fear that can slowly take an older man captive. Time has a way of doing that. Life happens. Responsibilities come. Children grow. Careers end. People we love leave us. Dreams that once seemed possible are postponed until someday becomes never. And eventually some men begin to believe that their best years are behind them. It doesn't have to be so. There's still another chapter. You can choose the chapter. You can make it happen. There's something still inside of you that wants to live. I'm not talking about pretending, but about reclaiming, remembering, breathing out loud. I'm talking about refusing to be imprisoned by culture's expectations or anyone else's. Men have always been drawn toward adventure, risk, and discovery. Perhaps that's part of our nature. Want to grab the bull by the horns and hang on till he surrenders or hits the dust. We want to feel that our lives still matter. Is there more to life than the tightness that grips us like a vice, holding us captive to a present we're no longer happy with? Personally, I reached a point where my desire to live surpassed the mundane existence of a life completed, ended, tucked away like a forgotten gift. The dreams had to win. Once again, a fire burned inside. The feeling of invincible youth smiled on me. I decided to retire in the Philippines, find a girl, a woman, use the money I had for my last hurrah, and I did. I want to share with you a story about an old man I met in the Philippines. His example may be out of the ordinary, but who determines what is ordinary? First, I met his wife, and later my wife and I had a meal at their place. I'll call the man Chance. That's not his real name. I use it because I respect his privacy. I don't even know if he's still alive now. It's been a while. However, when I was living at the Movenpick Resort, I would sometimes sit in the lounge area with my laptop, writing and enjoying one of the little afternoon stacks the resort provided. I always thought it was a sensible idea that they had available food, and rather than allowing it to go to waste, they made it available to residents and hotel guests. Well, one afternoon, a young Filipino woman was sitting at the table with her teenage son. I knew she was married to a much older man. We began talking. She was smiling from ear to ear, and before long she began telling me about her life. She told me that she had been married to Chance for 18 years. She was now 36 years old. Her son was 15. She shared with me that her husband, Chance, was, at that particular moment, 90 years old. Now, I know that statement alone will cause some people to form an opinion, but I wasn't interested in judging their marriage. I was interested in the happiness I saw sitting in front of me. Chance was an older European man. He was a vegetarian and a Buddhist. He dressed simply, usually in white clothes, lightweight collared shirt and white shorts, so suitable to the tropical climate. And in the mornings, he would go down to the beach for a swim. Many mornings, I would look out the window of my 12th floor condo to see Chance and his 15-year-old son on their early morning swim. Think about that for a moment. Chance's son helped his dad make the first few steps down into the water. Then they both began their swim and enjoyed being father and son. 90 years old, swimming in the sea, raising a teenage son, living with a woman he loved, still participating in life. His wife told me that when she had married Chance, she was 18 and he was 72. Their lives had taken a direction that many people might never have expected. She had once been poor, but she had worked with Chance, and together they had built a life. They owned 2 rental properties and a sorry store. She seemed genuinely happy telling me about it, and I don't think she was looking for my approval. I don't think she was expecting me to judge her. I think she simply saw another man she could talk to, a man she believed would listen to her story and be happy for her, and I was. I sat there in awe, not because their age difference was extraordinary, although it certainly was. I was amazed by something else. Chance had not surrendered to the number 90. He hadn't decided that because he was old, life had nothing left to offer him. Chance had a reason to get out of bed in the morning. During our conversation, my wife came down in the elevator, walked into the lobby, and joined us. She had a wonderful conversation with Chance's wife as well. It became one of those moments that touched my life with a challenge to live in the face of Father Time's ravaging effort to tuck me away in my old age like an old sock. I've talked in another video about longevity and everyday foods here in the Philippines that can contribute to a healthier life. We don't all have to be vegetarians. But I've come to believe that health is sustained by more than food, more than exercise. Health is aided by purpose, relationships, laughter, companionship, and happiness. Your story doesn't have to be over simply because you're getting older. You can still move, learn, love, and help someone else. Challenge yourself. It is your dream of a different life that brings you to this type of video, and I'm happy you're watching because I've been where you are. If you've been dreaming about retiring to the Philippines, perhaps it's time to stop dreaming about it and start seriously considering what it would take. I'm not telling you to be foolish. You can come and visit before making a permanent decision. If you feel you don't need a visit and you're ready to dive in, then go ahead. But don't allow preparation to become an excuse for never beginning. If income is your limitation, look honestly at what you own. Sell what you can, save enough to make the transition, save enough for a lease, save enough for a vehicle, or at least a small motorcycle. When I came to the Philippines, I sold almost everything I owned. I kept some belongings and had a friend ship a few Balik buy-in boxes for me. If you don't know about the Balik buy-in program, look it up. I flew here, arrived, and the next day I bought a vehicle, the very next day. And I began another chapter of my life. Was everything perfect? Well, for me, it was pretty sweet. And that's what I want to say to the man watching this who may be sitting somewhere wondering whether he's too old to begin again. Maybe the years haven't given you what you thought they would. Maybe you look around at your life and wonder whether this is simply how the rest of it is going to be. But before you accept that conclusion, ask yourself one question. What if your story doesn't have to be over yet? There are older men all over the world who discovered that their retirement income can provide a very different life in another country. But this isn't really a video about money. It's about possibility. It's about whether you are willing to believe that there may still be something ahead of you that you haven't imagined. Because the years have taken something from all of us. They've taken our youth. They've taken people we loved. They've taken opportunities we thought we'd have forever. But the years don't get to take away everything. They don't get to take your capacity to be kind. They don't get to take your ability to learn. They don't get to take your ability to love, and they don't necessarily get to take your willingness to live. Kindness, I discovered, has a remarkable way of healing the soul. It costs very little. It gives dignity to the person receiving it, and somehow it gives something back to the person who gives it. So perhaps the young man you thought you lost isn't really gone. Perhaps he's been waiting for you to stop telling yourself that it's too late. You don't have to become young again. You don't have to turn back the clock. You can't. You simply have to decide that age will not be the author of the final chapter of your life. Because you can't turn back time, but you can step into a future you've never imagined. Perhaps that's where the unimagined adventure begins. I've already talked about that in a previous video, and I've had plenty of unimagined adventures here in the Philippines. We spend so much of our lives trying to eliminate uncertainty. We want to know where we're going to live, how much it will cost, what will happen tomorrow, who we'll meet, whether we'll succeed. We want the answers before we're willing to take the first step. But think about it. If you knew everything that was going to happen, would it really be an adventure? The most extraordinary parts of my life were not the things I planned perfectly. They were the things I never imagined, the unimagined moments that have filled my memories with laughter and smiles. My unimagined adventure brought a beautiful, loving, kind, talented woman into my life, along with our adventurous travels that I had not expected. I didn't just build a new life in the Philippines. I let go, took the leap, and hit the ground running for all the adventure I could find. This is Philip, Everyday Expat Cebu. I hope I've encouraged you today. See you next time.